Imagine you want to plant a simple vegetable garden in your backyard.
Okay. Yeah, sounds nice.
Right. And like 50 years ago, you might have just asked a neighbor for a quick tip, bought some seeds, and, just started digging in the dirt.
You just get your hands dirty.
Exactly. You'd make a few mistakes, maybe lose a tomato plant or two to a random frost, but, well, you'd figure it out.
Right, trial and error.
But today you go online.
Oh, yeah, the endless void.
It really is. You read like 500 reviews of soil pH meters. You watch a 12-part documentary series on the history of compost.
Oh, my yay.
You join, 3 different Master Gardener Discord servers.
Yep.
And then after 3 weeks of intense, just obsessive research,
Exhausted.
you feel completely paralyzed and you haven't planted a single seed. We're arguably the most informed generation in human history, yet we are constantly trapped in this bizarre state of hesitation.
It really is the defining paradox of the digital age. We operate under this really powerful, almost unquestioned assumption that absolute certainty is somehow a prerequisite for action.
Like, we have to know everything before taking step 1.
Exactly. We have convinced ourselves that if we just gather enough data, we can somehow bypass the messy, uncomfortable, and frankly risky part of actually being a beginner at something.
Okay, let's unpack this because that is exactly the mission of our deep dive today.
It's a big one.
It is. We are exploring the hidden emotional weight of constant research based on some really fascinating source material. We want to tear apart this idea that the endless quest for the quote-unquote right answer is actually helping you.
Right, because it's not.
No, it's not. We're going to look at the psychological mechanisms behind why it actually backfires and uncover how you can force a hard reboot on your own brain to reclaim your mental clarity.
And setting the stage here, the landscape of information we are dealing with right now is basically a labyrinth disguised as a straight line.
Oh, I like that. A labyrinth.
Yeah, because everyone entering the online space operates under the belief that just one more search query, just one more YouTube tutorial is going to magically grant them the confidence to begin.
But it doesn't.
But it doesn't. Not at all.
So let's look at the actual behavior happening here, because the research we are diving into details a trap that almost everyone falls into.
Oh, for sure. Myself included.
Oh, same. It is this relentless cycle, right? You're endlessly watching videos, scouring articles, joining these really niche groups, and just constantly comparing opinions.
Looking for the silver bullet.
Yes. We are on this exhausting hunt for the singular, flawless way to do something. And it doesn't matter what it is, whether it is starting a side hustle, sleep training a baby.
Oh, that's a dangerous rabbit hole.
Or even just lifting weights. It's everywhere.
Well, think about what is happening on a neurological level when you engage in that cycle. There is this psychological concept known as the illusion of competence.
The illusion of competence. Okay, what is that?
So when you watch someone else expertly perform a task, say, the chef chopping an onion or a coder building a website from scratch,
Yeah.
your brain processes that visual information and actually simulates the action internally.
Wait, really?
Yeah, you get a small dopamine hit, a feeling of reward, almost as if you just accomplished the task yourself.
Wait, so my brain literally cannot tell the difference between watching a guy build a deck on YouTube and actually swinging the hammer myself?
In terms of the reward circuitry, the lines get incredibly blurry.
Wow.
You feel productive. You have 20 browser tabs open. You are taking meticulous notes. You are bookmarking resources.
I feel attacked right now.
Right. It mimics the sensation of work. It satisfies that craving for progress. But here's the catch. It carries zero actual risk.
Ah.
When you are just researching, you cannot fail. You are completely safe in this theoretical realm, just playing in an infinite sandbox of possibility.
It reminds me of, like, packing for a big trip. You know the destination, and you should probably just throw some clothes in a bag and head to the airport.
Keep it simple.
Right. But instead, you start playing out every possible disaster scenario in your head.
Oh, no.
You think, well, what if I end up stranded in the wilderness? So you go and buy a tactical flare gun, a machete, and a water purification system.
Just in case.
Just in case. And then you think, well, what if I need to attend a formal gala? So you pack a tuxedo.
Naturally.
And you just keep stuffing this suitcase with more and more gear, trying to insulate yourself against literally any possible uncertainty until the suitcase is like 500 pounds and you literally cannot drag it out your front door.
That is such a perfect analogy.
You mistake the anxiety-driven act of packing for the journey itself.
Exactly. It captures the emotional state perfectly. The underlying logic driving that heavy suitcase is a false equivalency.
How so?
We assume knowledge automatically equals readiness. We genuinely think information will undergo some sort of, I don't know, magical alchemy in our brains
Yeah.
and spontaneously generate physical momentum.
Okay, but wait, let me challenge this premise for a second.
Sure.
Because culturally, we're constantly hammered with the idea that we need to, quote, do our own research.
Right. It's treated as a virtue.
Exactly. Being informed is universally presented as a moral good. Like if I'm going to rewire the electrical panel in my house, I absolutely should not just wing it.
Please do not wing that.
I need to watch those tutorials. So at what point does gathering facts cross the line from being a responsible adult into being a psychological drain?
That is the perfect question. You are hitting on the critical difference between objective and subjective domains.
Okay, break that down for me.
If you are rewiring an electrical panel, there are immutable laws of physics involved.
Yeah,
If you cross the wrong wires, your house burns down.
right. Bad outcome.
Very bad.
Yeah.
That is an objective domain. There is, in fact, a single right answer. The danger arises when we take that exact same research methodology and apply it to highly subjective domains.
Which is almost everything else we do in life.
Precisely. How to write a novel, how to invest your savings, what diet is best for your body, how to market a business.
Yeah, there's no one way to do those.
Exactly. These are subjective. They depend entirely on your unique circumstances, your temperament, your risk tolerance.
Right.
When you go online searching for the one singular right answer in a subjective domain, you are not going to find a consensus.
Definitely not.
You are going to be met with 1,000 different voices, all screaming that their highly specific method is the absolutely only valid path to success.
And they completely contradict each other.
Always.
Like, you look up productivity advice, and one billionaire's morning routine video tells you to wake up at 4 a.m., take an ice bath, and hustle before the sun comes up.
Sounds miserable.
Right. And then the very next video from, a renowned neuroscientist tells you that sleep is the ultimate biological hack, and you need 9 hours of uninterrupted rest to function.
Exactly.
We try to synthesize that, and the math just breaks. You can't do both.
And that breaking point is exactly where the emotional weight sets in. What we're really talking about here is cognitive overload.
Okay.
The human brain has a finite amount of working memory. It is essentially the RAM in your computer.
Right.
So when you join 5 different forums and try to hold 50 competing opinions in your working memory simultaneously, your brain is desperately trying to run an algorithm to find the safest, most optimized route.
But the data is flawed.
Right, because the inputs are contradictory, wake up at 4 a.m., but also sleep 9 hours, so the algorithm just crashes.
You just blue screen.
The blue screen. And this leads us to the tipping point that makes this entire phenomenon so insidious.
Yeah.
We start this research phase believing it will bring us confidence. But over time, endless information creates the exact opposite.
It creates hesitation.
Deep hesitation, mental exhaustion, and, most importantly, a profound loss of confidence in your own judgment.
Here's where it gets really interesting. I want to hover on that phrase. The loss of confidence in your own judgment.
Yeah, it's crucial.
Because that is the real tragedy here, isn't it? You go online seeking a little bit of advice to just, augment your own intuition.
Just a quick tip.
Right. But the sheer volume of external opinions ends up drowning your internal voice completely.
It is a cognitive equivalent of trying to listen to a whisper in a crowded stadium.
Oh, wow. That's a great way to put it.
Your intuition, your lived experience, your common sense, that is the whisper. But the internet is a stadium of 80,000 people screaming at the top of their lungs.
You can't hear a thing.
Eventually, you stop even trying to hear the whisper. You effectively outsource your decision-making entirely to the algorithm.
And the algorithm is never, ever satisfied.
Never.
It is designed to keep you in the preparation phase. I mean, if you were researching how to start a podcast, the algorithm isn't going to show you a video that says, hey, you know enough, go hit record.
No, there's no money in that.
Exactly. It is going to serve you a thumbnail with a shocked face and big red text that says, 5 mistakes ruining your audio before you even start.
Yep, the fear-mongering.
It literally monetizes your uncertainty.
Which just exacerbates the mental exhaustion. You start believing that the answer is always, out there.
Yeah.
Hidden in some obscure blog post you just haven't uncovered yet.
Instead of in here.
Right, instead of based on your ability to just figure things out as you go, You become terrified of making a suboptimal choice.
Paralysis by analysis.
Exactly. It's backed by Hick's law in psychology, which states that the time it takes to make a decision increases with the number and complexity of choices.
So more choices equals less action.
Precisely. By seeking infinite choices online, you are literally engineering your own inability to act.
So the illusion is that more data makes the path clearer, when in reality, every new piece of data acts like a heavy rock dropped into that suitcase.
That's it.
You just become immobilized.
You cannot take a single step without violating at least one piece of advice you read online. I mean, if you choose a microphone for your podcast, you are failing the audiophile who said that brand is garbage. If you write your book outline on index cards, you are failing the tech guru who said, you absolutely must use this specific expensive software. You are trapped in a web of contradictory standards.
Okay, so if our brains are redlining because we have opened way too many cognitive tabs, how do we force a reboot?
That's the million-dollar question.
Because the research we are looking at proposes a way out of this trap, and what stands out to me is how aggressively countercultural the solution is.
Oh, it really is.
We don't need better information. We don't need to find a more reputable guru or meticulously curate our social media feeds. The first step toward thinking clearly again is stepping away from endless consumption.
Just stopping.
Just completely cutting off the flow.
What's fascinating here is that it's actually a radical act in today's attention economy.
It really is.
And the reason stepping away is so vital goes back to the actual mechanics of the brain. There's a network in your brain called the default mode network, or DMN.
Yeah, okay, DMN.
This network becomes active, not when you are laser focused on a task or absorbing new information, but when your mind is just wandering.
Like when you're resting.
Yes, when you're resting, or when you are doing something completely mundane like taking a shower or walking without headphones.
Oh, that is always when the best ideas hit. You are in the shower, staring at the tile, and suddenly you solve a problem you've been stuck on for 3 days.
Exactly. Because the default mode network is where synthesis happens.
Synthesis.
Yes. It is where your brain takes all the disparate pieces of information you have gathered, connects the dots, and integrates them with your own personal memories and experiences.
Oh, wow.
But, and this is the crucial part, the DMN cannot activate if you are constantly shoving new inputs into the system.
Because it's too busy processing.
Right. If you are listening to a podcast, reading an article, or scrolling a feed, your brain is in acquisition mode. It is basically just stacking boxes in a warehouse. It has absolutely no time to open the boxes and organize the inventory.
So stepping away creates a vacuum. It clears the warehouse floor. Exactly.
It forces a transition from external acquisition to internal synthesis. You cannot hear your own intuition if your mental bandwidth is at 100% capacity processing the anxieties of total strangers.
So what does this all mean for you? Think about your own browser history right now. Really picture it.
It's probably scary.
How many tabs do you have open for a project, a hobby, or a life change that you haven't even started yet?
How many saved Instagram reels do you have for workouts you haven't tried or recipes you haven't cooked?
Exactly. Stepping away is not about giving up on your goals. It is recognizing that the preparation phase has hit a wall of diminishing returns.
It's actually worse than that.
Right. It is now yielding negative returns. It is actively harming your ability to execute.
It requires a massive shift in mindset. You really have to give yourself permission to say 3 terrifying words. I know enough.
Oh, man, that is incredibly hard to say. I know enough.
It is.
Because the minute you say it, that imposter syndrome creeps in. The anxiety flares up. You think, well, who am I to say I know enough? There is a guy on YouTube with 3 million subscribers who says, I need to know these 20 other things first.
But you must realize that you are not claiming to know everything.
Right.
You are just claiming to know enough to take the very first step. That is all.
Just the first step.
Yes. You are shifting from being a passive consumer of information to an active participant in reality. When you close the laptop and step away, you are forced to confront the actual physical task in front of you.
And it's going to be messy.
Very messy. You will probably fail at some aspect of it.
But that failure will be real.
Exactly.
It will be based on your own actions and your own environment, rather than, a theoretical anxiety you absorbed from a Reddit thread posted 5 years ago.
And real failure is infinitely more valuable than theoretical success.
Oh, absolutely.
Real failure gives you custom, highly specific feedback. If you plant that tomato seed and it dies because you overwatered it, you now have concrete data for your specific climate and your specific soil.
Which is worth way more than a video.
That is worth more than 100 hours of watching gardening videos.
It is like trying to clean your living room while leaving the front door wide open during a hurricane.
Oh, that's a vivid image.
Right. You can sweep the floor all you want, but the wind is just blowing more debris, more opinions, more must-do hacks inside.
It never stops.
Stepping away is simply walking over and shutting the front door. You stop the influx, you silence the roar of the stadium so the whisper can actually become a normal speaking voice again.
And once that door is closed, the mental exhaustion rapidly begins to lift.
Really? Just like that?
The cognitive load drops immensely because suddenly your choices are no longer infinite. You're no longer comparing 50 optimization strategies.
He's just doing the thing.
You are looking at the tools you actually hold in your hands, the time you actually have available, and you are making a choice based on your own judgment.
That shift from seeking external guarantees to building internal trust is just profound.
It changes everything.
We spend so much time looking for the internet to guarantee our success, to give us a flawless map so we never have to feel the discomfort of being lost.
And there is no flawless map.
No. The clarity we are desperately searching for isn't hidden at the bottom of a search results page. It is buried underneath the mountain of browser tabs we keep opening.
This is exactly why the research frames stepping away as the first step.
Not the last step.
No, it is the necessary prerequisite to clear thinking. You cannot evaluate a situation objectively when you are drowning in subjective advice. You have to pull yourself out of the water first.
Okay, let's retrace the path we just walked, because recognizing these patterns is really the only way to short-circuit them in your own life.
Good idea.
We start with a natural, healthy desire to learn. We enter the digital space seeking preparation, expecting that gathering data will basically build an armor of confidence.
But the architecture of the digital world exploits that desire. We fall into the illusion of competence, getting dopamine hits from watching others perform tasks.
Mistaking consumption for action.
Exactly. We try to apply objective certainty to subjective problems, which leads to a massive cognitive overload.
Our working memory crashes. We experience analysis paralysis. The sheer volume of contradictory advice creates deep hesitation and slowly erodes our trust in our own intuition.
We just lose our own voice.
We end up standing in the hallway, staring at a 500-pound suitcase of survival gear, completely terrified to walk out the front door.
And the only way to break that paralysis is to forcefully stop the input.
Shutting the front door.
Activating the brain's default mode network by stepping away, closing the tabs, and allowing internal synthesis to replace external consumption.
Wow.
It is trusting that you have gathered enough raw material and, well, it is time to start building.
Which brings us to a final, lingering thought for you to carry with you today. Something to challenge that deeply ingrained habit of constantly seeking more information.
What is it?
If stepping away from endless consumption is truly the mechanism that allows your brain to think clearly again, what is the very first action you would take right now if you permanently banned yourself from looking up just one more thing?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
If you stripped away the safety net of the search bar, what physical action would you be forced to take today?
Think about that massive overloaded suitcase you have been packing for months or maybe even years. It is time to start buying flares and tactical tents for scenarios that will never happen.
Leave the tuxedo behind.
Yes. Unpack the heavy stuff, zip it up with just the absolute essentials, and walk out the front door. The messy, uncomfortable, beautiful reality of the journey is waiting for you out there. And honestly, your own judgment is the only compass you actually need. Thanks for exploring this with us on today's Deep Dive. We will catch you next time.